Shalom, welcome to another Blackboard Hebrew video. I'm Tim McNinch. In this lesson, I'll be introducing the dots and dashes that mark vowel sounds in Hebrew. This system, developed by the Masoretes in the Middle Ages, is known today as Nikud, from the Hebrew word nakudah, meaning dot. Well, let's get started. Bo natchil. As you may already know, Hebrew is written with consonants only. The vowel sounds are already known by those who speak the language, so they don't need to write them down. Now, if that seems strange to you, remember, English does things like this too. For example, you probably know that this word is pronounced night, but to someone who's just learning English, it's a nightmare to pronounce. There are several languages that use consonants only in their writing, and it works just fine if that's what you're used to. In fact, it's not that hard to pick up. I imagine you can read this sentence without vowels, right? Spelling out vowels is really only necessary for the sake of readers who don't already know the language. And this is exactly why the medieval scribes developed vowel markings for Hebrew. Their language had faded from use as a first language for Jews around the world and was used primarily in religious contexts. So the Masoretes, a community of traditional scribes, developed a way to preserve the vocalized pronunciation of their Hebrew texts, but without adding any additional letters. Instead, they placed a code of dots and dashes below or sometimes above or inside the letters. Now, this might seem like a nitpicky point, but I think it's important to emphasize that these dots and dashes are not the vowels themselves. The vowels are already in the spoken words. Instead, these are just little marks to assist us in pronouncing the words. They're kind of like training wheels for learning to read Hebrew. But those who've learned to speak the language don't need these training wheels. Written Hebrew is fine without them. And as a matter of fact, modern Hebrew is still written with consonants only for the most part. And usually Nikud is taught only to children or others who are just learning to read for the first time. So if you're a beginning student, which you probably are if you're watching this video, I'd encourage you to practice reading both with and without vowel points. At any rate, in the Middle Ages, a few versions of this system caught on in different parts of the world. But the one that stuck and is used today is also known as the Tiberian system of vowel pointing. And that's what I'm going to teach you now. Here's a chart of the vowel points. The first thing to notice here is that there are actually only 5 types of vowels, the same 5 types that are found in many languages, A, E, O, and U types. And there are 3 possible lengths for each type of vowel, long, short, and ultra short. It will be helpful to know the length of each of these vowels that we're learning, but in the practice of speaking, Hebrew simplifies this quite a bit. All of the A type vowels just sound like ah, and all the E types generally sound like all the E types say E, all the O types O, and the U types U. So you don't need to distinguish length in pronouncing the language, only in grammatical analysis. So this chart really boils down to just 5 sounds. Kale kalot, easy peasy. So let's get to know these vowel markers. Here's our friend, the letter Aleph. It's here as a placeholder for our vowel points, which typically occupy the space here just below the consonant. So let's meet the first A-type vowel, which is the kamatz. Kamatz is shaped like a little T, and as I've said, it makes an ah sound. Now to make an actual syllable, read down from consonant to vowel. This combo of a letter with a long vowel, like kamatz, is called an open syllable because there's no consonant to close off the sound of the vowel. If you swap out the aleph with other letters, you can make all sorts of rhyming open syllables, like ba, ma, tsa, etc. And that's the kamatz, our long A-type vowel. The short A-type vowel is the patach. It's a horizontal dash. I like to think of it kind of like a kamatz with its vertical tail sliced off, which helps me remember that patach is a short vowel. Short vowels are found in what we call closed syllables, because the short vowel, it attracts another consonant to close off the syllable. Closed syllables are read from consonant to vowel to consonant. So you can form syllables like bat, mat, tzat, etc. And that's the patach and our ah type vowels. Next we have the types, starting with the tsere. Tsere is 2 dots in a horizontal row, and it makes an sound, as an egg. In fact, if it helps, you can picture it as a couple eggs in a carton, making that sound. Now, an exception to this rule is when tsere is followed by the letter yod. In this case, the sound lengthens from to a, and technically the name of the vowel changes to tsere male, meaning full tsere, or sometimes it's just called a tsere yod. I should say something here about this yod. Even though it's functioning as part of this vowel, it wasn't added by the Masoretic scribes. This yod would have been part of their received text, and part of an even earlier system of indicating the presence of vowels in the text. When certain consonants act like vowels, these are known as mothers of reading, or in Hebrew, imot kriya. You might also come across their Latin name, matres lectiones. You can think of these mothers as vowel markers from a previous generation of written Hebrew, which have given birth to the little dots and dashes of Masoretic notation. We'll see more of these as we go along. So that's tsere, the long type vowel. The short type is segol. It looks just like a tsere, but with an extra egg and a little triangle pattern. As a short vowel, you'll find segol in closed syllables. Moving on, let's look at the E types. This time we'll start with the short E vowel, the chirik. Chirik is a single dot. I picture it kind of like the dot in the letter I in a word like unique. Chirik is a short vowel, but it's lengthened into a long vowel when it's followed by a yod. Yep, this is another ima, a mother. And this long vowel is called chirik male, or sometimes chirik yod. This lengthening does not, however, change the pronunciation. It still says E. That brings us to the O-type vowels. The long O differs from what we've seen up to this point because it's not found below the consonant, but it's marked above and slightly to the left of the consonant. The long O is a single dot called the cholam, but you'll very often find the cholam attached to another ima, this time a vav. This is the cholam male, or cholam vav, and in either form, the cholam just makes the sound O. The short O is called kamatz katan, which just means little kamatz. If it looks familiar, that's because it's identical to the long A-type vowel, the kamatz, which incidentally is sometimes called the kamatz gadol, or big kamatz, in contrast to this one. The kamatz katan is relatively rare compared to its big brother, but you'll learn to recognize it in context. It only occurs when it's the vowel in a closed, unaccented syllable. Don't worry about memorizing that rule now. You'll get the hang of spotting it as you read more. What you do need to know now is that kamatz katan is not an A-type vowel, but an O-type, and it makes the sound O. Finally, we have our U types. The long U always appears with its mother, a vav, and it's a single dot in the middle. This is called the shuruk, and it makes the long U sound. As a little sidebar, this dot looks a lot like a dagesh, and in fact, doubled vavs do occur every once in a while. If you want to know more about this, take a look at my video on the dagesh. It has a little section about what I call dagesh doppelgangers, where I talk more about shuruk and doubled vavs and how to tell them apart. Anyway, we also have a short U vowel mark, the kubutz. Kubutz is 3 dots in a row on a slant. Even though it's a short vowel, it's pronounced today just like the shuruk, a long oo sound. A, E, I, O, U. Those are the vowels. Now, you might remember from our chart at the beginning that there's also a column for ultra-short vowels. But in order to understand them, first we need to say just a few words about another mark that's not a vowel, the schwa. Schwa is two dots aligned vertically, and instead of marking a vowel, schwa marks the absence of a vowel. Some grammarians consider there to be two distinct schwas, depending on where it falls in a syllable. At the end of a syllable, it's known as schwa nach, meaning silent or quiescent schwa. Take a look at the word mishpat. The schwa that's under the sheen marks the end of that syllable. In other words, as you're reading along, you get to that schwa, and it's like you hit a brick wall. This syllable is done. Mish. Then the next syllable starts. Pat. That's the schwa nach. The other type of schwa is known as the schwa na, the mobile or vocal schwa. Schwa na is found at the beginning of a syllable, like under the gimel in the word gedolah. Since the schwa is marking the absence of a vowel, this means that the gimel and dalet are considered a consonant cluster, kind of like our ST or PR or other clusters that we have, and they're pronounced together. Gdolah. Sometimes these consonant clusters are difficult to pronounce, and so you can give the schwa a little semi-short sound, gedolah. But the word still technically has only two syllables, since gedo has only one real vowel. Occasionally, you'll encounter two schwas back to back. In the bulk of these instances, you can think of the two schwas as forming a little pathway through which you can divide the syllables. Mish, pechot, mish, pechot. When this happens, the first schwa is a schwa nach, or silent schwa, and the second one is a schwa na, or vocal schwa. So the reason we had to go on that little excursus into the schwa is because certain letters, the guttural letters, aleph, hey, chet, and ayin, can't be pronounced without a vowel. So when they fall in a place where we would expect to find a vocal schwa, they need the help of a little extra ultra-short vowel. These three little compound vowels, the chataf kamatz, chataf patach, and chataf segol, are made by combining a schwa with one of the short vowels that we've already met. And they make the sound of those short vowels, o, a, and respectively. Which of these three is used often depends on the following vowel in the word. But for now, you don't need to worry about why it's there. You just need to be able to read it. So hopefully that gives you a handle on this big chart of new vowels to learn. Remember, it's really only the 5 sounds that you already know from English, Spanish, or many other languages. A, I, O, and U. Remember to subscribe to this channel and check out my other videos for more Hebrew tutorials. But most importantly, love your Hebrew.